My name is Mujisha Paul, and I'm a filmmaker by profession. That is, I'm a screenwriter, cinematographer, and editor and producer. But I studied telecommunication engineering, and I love agriculture. My project is about food security. My project is the food security project, ministry project. It's basically about adding food to the community to observe a balanced diet and to secure food safety in our community. This is basically by encouraging people and the youth to grow food in their communities, but to do it in a much easier way of doing it, a simplified scientific way, which is basically growing food in sacks. This method is basically simplified. It gives you more yield with less effort at the end of the day. How I came about the project? Basically two reasons. Way back in 2004, when I set out to start working, I realized as I worked, food was very expensive, and getting a meal was quite an expensive thing. That's when it dawned on to me that prices of food were really high. Personally, I actually starved during that time period. I mean, I would have like one meal or sometimes 2 meals a day, and I'm talking of really a decent meal. And for the rest of the time, I would basically have tea and bread, which was really nothing, and basically not even a balanced diet. And I realized I wasn't the only one. Food prices were really high, and were continuing going high. People were saying, yeah, it's as a result of fuel prices. But then, as I kept on thinking of that, that's when I came across this idea, and I realized, what if I could grow my own food? What if I could grow food in containers? Yeah, and when I did a little research, I realized, yeah, this could be possible. I tried it out. Yeah, it was, but I had a few glitches around. But then, as time went on, I solved them, and I realized it's something that this community that can take up, and people can do it. In that way, they could reduce on the cost of food. The second reason is, back in 2008, I realized many people were complaining about the food prices had actually gardens in their homes. And funny enough is that in those gardens you'd find flowers and other plants that are not edible. And it really beat my understanding why people would grow this, and yet they're complaining of food prices. And that's when I was stuck with the idea that actually we could be facing a green desert problem, whereby you have a lot of green around you, but you can't eat it, you can't consume it. So the green desert issue really bothered me. It forced me to find a way of talking to the community and telling them, look, instead of growing those non-edible plants, why don't you grow food that you can actually eat? And who knows, you would actually cut down on your food costs. That's how I got the idea. How I'm going to implement this? Basically, the project will secure land which will be basically used for having nursery beds for seedlings of these different plants. Basically, the reason being, people are lazy to do it. They actually don't want to grow seedlings and in nursery beds. So we'll do that for them. Then we'll have farmers register to take up the seedlings. After registration, the project will distribute the seedling to the farmers. The farmers will then transplant the ready seedlings into their gardens and will take care of the garden. The project will also continue on inspecting and evaluating all these small household farmers and monitoring and basically giving them manure and pesticide, basically to have the plants grow. Once the plants are fully grown, then the farmers will harvest the plants and will keep 30% of that and give us 70%, which we will sell eventually, and then share the profits with the farmers again and keep some for maintenance and continuation of the project. And basically the cycle will continue. But we'd also love to grow things like plants that are medicinal and that would basically add on to our health. The outcomes of my project, basically, one, employment of youth and other people who don't have employment. The employment will definitely increase. People will be employed. People will have will have work to do. Two, food security will have food in our communities. People will be growing their food, and people will have plenty to eat. Three, a balanced diet will be observed. People who have not been having a balanced diet definitely will have something at least near to a balanced diet. For reduction of diseases, if you realize most of the diseases in our communities are a result of poor feeding, basically bad feeding. So we'll have reduction of diseases. We'll also have reduced reduction in crime and other felons. If you realize, most of the crimes and felons are usually related to food. People would go to steal just to sell the items, just to get something to eat, and so basically, yeah, we'll have some reduction in crime. Apart from that, yeah, I believe basically some of those are the things that we'll obtain out of the implementation. Since our population is increasing, definitely we'll have availability of food. More people means more food. So if we take up agriculture and encourage young people to do it, definitely we're going to have more food in our community. Apart from that, youth will also increase in their income. We'll have an income increase in the youth. The youth will have some money in their pocket, which we are not seeing. The budget, I'm looking at a budget of about 170,000 US dollars, because it's something that I would love to have the whole country involved in. Though we are starting with mainly 3 districts, that is the districts most nearest to the capital city. Basically starting with Kampala, then Wakiso and Mpigi. Basically the budget will take care of the land, seedlings, manure, sites, salaries, vehicles, and other equipment. In conclusion, I would say this is a project that would not only employ the youth and all other age groups, but it's also a project that will basically minister to the youth and bless the youth. I feel it's a project that is going to work a miracle in the lives of the youth. Thank you, Spark 12.